welcome. How's it going, everyone? How's it going? Good morning. This is the Conscious Chicano. Welcome to my conscious chat number 3. Wow, let me just see if some people show up. Um, so today's topic is Chicano health consciousness. Yeah, that's the topic we'll be discussing today. And don't forget to read my description down below. Um, you can add me on Instagram where I go on live sometimes. Well, I'm on the go. um, there's a lot of live videos there as well. If you want to go deeper into, say, this topic of health consciousness, go to my Rumble account below, click on the link, subscribe to my Rumble, and also go to my link down there on Twitter. So I have a Twitter account, and a lot of us in the health consciousness movement, we're exposing a lot of stuff. But here on YouTube, we can't really say too much here because there's a lot of censorship here. So in a sense, I have to come on here and be more mainstream. But I'll give my little hints to what I'm talking about. Hopefully, you guys are that conscious enough to know what I'm saying. But the way the algorithm is, they catch certain things and everything. So there's certain words that you can't say on here, or you'll get banned and censored. So welcome. So I'm the Conscious Chicano. To let you guys know, I've I'm actually also a certified health coach as well. So I've studied a lot of health. I've done a lot of health research, health, nutrition, and wellness, and even studied a lot of the traditional medicines as well. And I'm still researching and studying. So you still, there's a lot of insights on this whole health and wellness, you know, um, topic. A lot of research that you need to learn. But yeah, definitely. So I think it's important for a lot of us Chicanos and Chicanas out here to become very health conscious, and especially what happened in the last few years. A lot of us, you know, a lot of our people were not health conscious, and that's why they they fell for a lot of propaganda and stuff like that. And they fell for a lot of things out here, and and a lot of it is propaganda. Yeah, I'm not going to go into all the details, but you guys know what I mean. But also, we don't realize how even living in the United States, as much as cultural as we are, Mexicans, Chicanos out here, um, we pick up on the American bad habits out here. And what do I mean by that? Um, a lot of the fast food industry, um, eating a lot of the GMOs, GMO processed foods out here, um, having unhealthy habits and lifestyles out here. And, the United States has one of the worst chronic disease rates in the globe. The statistics on that is alarming. And and us Chicanos and Chicanas, even natives out here, you know, as you know, as you guys know, I have native ancestry as well, and even living in the United States, a lot of natives pick up on Western ways, and they're colonized by the Western ways and the Western bad habits out here, and they start adopting a lot of the unhealthy foods and lifestyles out here, especially when we have a food industry that's toxic. The food industry is just it's like they're producing foods that are unnatural, that are organic, full of ingredients that are toxic for us. And this is why a lot of people out here, say in the industrial worlds out here, including the United States, are getting more chronic disease than ever. So the food industry, as some people call it, big food, is part of the problem as well. Um, and so it's that's the whole issue. It's the system too. A lot of people blame, oh, it's all about your bad habits and stuff like that and your choices, but they set up a system where they make it the overwhelming choices out here. Your choices will most likely be a choice that chooses bad food. So one of the criticisms is, especially some, a lot of naturopaths, um, functional doctors, and um, you know, nutritionists, health coaches. One of the criticisms of the food industry is that they make it it's like shoot, I even forgot what I was gonna say. they they make it like what they set up a system in such a way where it's like you know uh, it's you have to depend on it, not depend on it, but you kind of like it's the overwhelming majority of what's going on out here. And it's even convenient to eat that fast food. You're on the go, right? And it's like, okay, I can't go to my house and start cooking because I'm over here on the go. I'm in a hurry. So I'm just gonna go over there to, you know, some fast food restaurant and just get a quick bite and everything. And and so since this society is so fast paced, this becomes our habits, and we start going out all the time and eating all this junk food out here. Um, yeah, definitely. Welcome to my chat, everyone. I see some people showing up. Yeah. So definitely. So let me see. So for I'll be here. My ideal is to be here for 30 minutes. I just started, so I should be here until speaking on this topic for 30 minutes. And if you want to join my chat room, I'm gonna put the link there after I finish. If you want to join me on video, matter of fact, I mean, and discuss this topic, um, I'll put my link on there after I'm finished talking about this topic. But when I do advise it, if you come on here, be careful what you say because there's a lot of censorship here on YouTube. So if you say certain words, you talk about certain topics, it'll definitely give me a strike or definitely get me a ban. And this is from my firsthand experience when I started coming on here. That's why it's been a while since I've been on YouTube because there's a lot of censorship here. And just to remind you, if you just got here, if you want to go deeper, go read my description below. I have a Rumble account where I go deeper into these topics and subjects, and also add me on Twitter too. So there's a lot of knowledge being dispersed there. And man, I'm just like resharing stuff and tweeting a lot of good stuff there. And it deals with this topic too. And so you guys know, I've got involved in the health freedom movement. If you don't know by now what that is, I know this is YouTube, so a lot of mainstream people out here, I either have certain what is it, biases towards the health freedom movement, or they're just not even aware of it. And this is due to the censorship and the propaganda out here to label us as in a certain way, you know. But the health freedom movement has always existed, you know, and there's a whole history of it. And a lot of us promote health and wellness and traditional medicines, you know, traditional approaches, more natural, organic type stuff, you know. So, and I've been involved in this stuff like prior to, you know, the whole thing that happened, you know, the last past 2 years, you know. You guys know what I mean. I can't say certain words because it'll trigger the algorithm. So, but definitely, health and wellness is a must. You know, and I promote this in the Chicano native communities out here. We need more of that out here. You know, I prior to the whole, you know, last past 2 years, um, I awoke to this health consciousness. I wish I would have been aware of this like a long time ago. It would have saved me from a lot of unfortunate circumstances. But sometimes you have to learn the, you know, you learn the hard way, you know. And so what happens to the majority of us out here is like, you know, we live an unhealthy lifestyle. We eat that junk food and fast food, and you know, and then we think nothing of it. You think, oh, I'm okay, and this and that, and you know, and especially when you're young and dumb, right? And you're out there just eating, living an unhealthy lifestyle, and drinking and all that stuff, and partying and whatever. Not really being health conscious, and so then later on, when you get a little older, it's like boom, it catches up to you, you know, and then you're put in a situation where, oh wow, this is scary, and you end up in the hospital or something. You're diagnosed with some chronic disease, or you're put in a situation where you know on your deathbed or whatever. You know, it's like it's a bad circumstance, you know, for a lot of people out here. You know, it's and there's two types of people though. When you circumstances like that occur to you, there's one type of person is like, oh, they don't learn from what they've been through, so they continue their bad habits, and then they end up perishing, right? And the second type of person is like, okay, you know, I can't went through this experience, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna wisen up now. I'm gonna start researching, looking for solutions, and finding ways to improve my health, and you know, even reverse it, and even work on becoming healthier, you know. So those are the two types of people that do something about it, and some people that just don't do nothing about it and stick to their bad habits. And I say bad habits are like one of the main causes of, you know, either you develop good habits or bad habits, you know. And the bad habits will lead you to destruction, right? Living on an unhealthy lifestyle will lead you to destruction. Living a healthier lifestyle will give you longer life, you know. So that's the key. You know, I learned that your actions, your actions, sometimes they speak louder than words, and your behaviors and everything. So if you're doing certain actions that are contributing to shortening your life, then you're going to get that result. There's always a cause and effect, right? In reality. And if you're going to do certain actions that are going to prolong your life and and make you healthier, then yeah, definitely you're gonna live a longer life, and it's all about your actions. Again, like I said, there's a cause and effect in reality. So actions are very important, and definitely, and I think a lot of the Chicanos and Chicanas out here need to really take their health seriously. You know, I come across too many of them out here. You know, even the conscious ones that been in the movements and all that, they're all into their indigenismo and all that stuff. And sometimes I come across some people who are, I found out that they have cancer, or they have sugar diabetes, or, they have some chronic disease or something like that. And, and a lot of times, from my research, is like a lot of this is due to the unhealthy, the majority would be the unhealthy diets out here that's occurring. But the whole cause of disease it gets pretty deep. As you guys know, I'm a health coach, health and wellness coach, and I'm what you call a terrain theorist. And it's different from a germ theorist. And so a terrain theorist basically doesn't see the cause of sickness and illness as one single thing, right? And I can't mention that. Well, maybe I can, um, but it doesn't see one single thing as a cause of disease. It looks at multiple factors, right? Multiple factors that cause people to be sick and ill, and it could be a lot of things, and it could be like your diet. I figured out that your diet is one of the major causes of illness if you're eating an unhealthy diet. And I come to that conclusion because the majority of your gut health is based on your diet. That's like, I think the percentage is now is probably like around 70% or something like that. It's up there. And, and your gut health is very, like, it's the majority of what contributes to a lot of your, say, your health in general, and your gut health. There's a lot of research on the whole microbiome recently, and it's recent research too. And there's been old school terrain theorists who've always been talking about gut health and all that. It even goes all the way back to a philosopher named Hippocrates, and he used to always talk about, you know, your gut health in some sense, and so basically, if you have poor gut health, you're definitely going to end up with sickness and illness. If you have good gut health, then you're going to eventually um, become healthier. And that's very important. And people don't realize that. They don't make that connection. They think that they can continue to eat terrible and eat all this garbage out here and to remain healthy, or they think, oh, just because I'm feeling okay, and I'm over here walking around, running, jogging, doing all this exercise, I could continue to eat unhealthy, right? No, it's gonna catch up to you. I don't care how much exercise you do, or how much meditation you do, or whatever. I know there's people out here who think, you know, that they could, it negates their diet and all that. And I know we live in a, a fast food world out here, and so the way I am is like, I'm not. a big time legalist on, oh, like some of these guys, especially like they come off with certain diets, you better not, that, But the way I am is like, let's be realistic, like, I think, sometimes it's unavoidable sometimes to eat fast food. So you got to adapt to the modern world in some sense where you, you want, if you, what you want to do is reduce the amount of eating out as much as possible. But if you end up eating out, what you want to do is modify your plates. And you want to modify your plates. Say you go to a restaurant, and you identify certain restaurants that are actually serving more healthier stuff than others. So um, and so that's what I do sometimes. Like when I'm out and about, I identify certain restaurants. And I'm saying, okay, this restaurant is serving organic, non-GMO, protein and different things like that. They're a little more health conscious than some of these other fast food restaurants. So I have kind of like a list in my own mind on what restaurants are healthier than others. And what you do is just go on their websites, just Google it, type up the different restaurants out there, and look at their menus and see what they offer. And if you can, find out what kind of ingredients they use. But say you go to a restaurant and you order a combo, right? And I think what you do is, this is what I do, is like, okay, I see that they're in this combination, they make you get this and that. But what you could do is modify your plate, and you could tell them and say, hey, I don't want this, I don't want that, and this and that. And this is how you want to modify the plate, so you make it at least a little healthier. It's not going to be 100% healthy, right, or absolute, but at least you can make it a little healthier than usual. And I actually learned this from a well-known, famous, nutritionist, and um, his name is Dr. Wallach. I actually learned a lot from that guy, Dr. Wallach. Man, this guy he's a genius. And he, speaking of Dr. Wallach, yeah, he basically says that's what he does when he goes out to restaurants. He modifies the plates, and he tries to, I guess, make it as healthy as possible. There's even another popular health figure on YouTube that talks about this stuff. I think it's Thomas. Uh, he has like a French last name, Lemore, something like that. But he has a lot of good videos on when you go out there, say to different restaurants, and he even names them. He tells you what kind of foods to, what kind of combos and foods that you can, modify and eat, and very helpful. Very helpful if you want to eat a healthier life um, diet. When you go out to these restaurants. But the ideal is not to even go to those restaurants. But if you end up at those restaurants, then modify your choices, right? Um, so and then you got stuff like the markets. So people say, okay, fast food is bad and everything. I'll just eat it from the market, right? And so they go to like some of these Mexican markets or in the communities. And I've done kind of like comparative observation. Um, I go to the wealthy communities where white people are the majority of white people live in those neighborhoods. And then I travel to the communities where people of color live, right? Or even like out here in Los Angeles, it's mostly Chicanos, Mexicans, brown people. So I go to a white neighborhood and I see that, oh, they have some pretty good markets out there. They got Whole Foods, they got Sprouts, they got, Trader Joe's, you know, they have some of these 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 markets that serve a lot of organic, non-GMO foods out here, healthy stuff, healthy supplements, and all that. And and then I look around in my own communities out here in these brown communities. I don't see none of these markets out here, none of these. And if I live out here in the San Fernando Valley, out here in Los Angeles, is a part of Los Angeles, and I go to the white neighborhoods out there, and I see a lot of healthier food market choices out here. And then you even have what's it called? Those I'm trying to remember the names. They're little markets that they sell food from the farms and everything. And a lot of times they're out in certain white neighborhoods, and a lot of us who are conscious, we call this like environmental racism in some sense. And it's like, okay, they're offering better choices and more resources in certain neighborhoods than say people of colors, our neighborhoods, but definitely hi, hello, casual conversation. Yeah, I noticed that you asked the question. Let's see here. What about his vitamins? Oh, okay. I'll get into that in a minute. So I'll talk about Dr. Wallach's vitamins and everything. Really good, man. Really good. So so I see this environmental racism going on, where you have brown communities who you drive around the brown communities and you look at the markets there, and you go inside the markets and they're serving nothing but junk food, nothing but garbage. And you rarely see any organic, non-GMO type foods, healthy supplements, or anything like that. It's all junk food. I see all these sodas everywhere and all this candy and all this just garbage everywhere. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. Um, that's all you see, pretty much. And so a lot of us brown folks think, oh, okay, I'm not going to eat at a fast food. I'm going to eat at a market. But then they go to their market, and then all there is just nothing but garbage, And then they go and make this food, and then they're still eating as bad as they would say at a fast food restaurant. So, and they're not eating a healthy diet, because they're eating all this processed food, all this GMO food, sugary foods, and all that. So, um, and then a lot of us think, oh, we're cultural, right? It's all about my Mexican Chicano culture, and I'm gonna eat my cultural foods. But then they go to like some Mexican restaurants out here, and they're serving a lot of garbage too, and a lot of GMO processed food. Even even our Mexican food is all GMO'd and processed, you know, in those markets. So it's not enough just to be cultural; it's to be like health conscious as well, in your choices and everything. So um, yeah, so we experience that. So we see that the fast food industry is the choices there are not that good, and then these markets as well. So you kind of understand, like, okay, why a lot of us Chicanos and Mexicans out here are making bad choices when it comes to eating good diets, because the food industry is corrupt, and they're serving nothing but garbage out here, pretty much. And you read their ingredients, there's a lot of ingredients that are unnatural, and it affects your health, you know. So definitely, yeah. If you just came in, matter of fact, maybe I'm gonna change it a little. If you have any questions related to the topic, I'll definitely answer them as I go on. So casual conversation. What G&A asked in the chat room, what do you think about Dr. Wallach's vitamins? Okay, so Dr. Wallach, man, this guy, if you can, you know, go type him up, YouTube him. He just drops knowledge. That guy has so much knowledge. I like his whole story. He's definitely he's well researched in naturopathy, natural. Actually he's a naturopath, and he's also a veterinarian, and he's also worked in agriculture, like kind of like farming and stuff like that. So this guy has a wealth of knowledge. I have a lot of his books. I just there's just so much information. But he, I discovered him as I went through my health crisis, and he started. I started like digging into a lot of research on, how people prevent illness and reverse it as well. And he's one of the guys that actually woke me up to this health consciousness, and and I just listened to a lot of his lectures. He has a lecture on Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and uh, he exposes the corrupt medical industry and everything. Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that, but but YouTube is censored here, so I have to be careful in what I say. But I'll stop there on that whole. I can't really talk about certain things here, but I will say that Dr. Wallach is a genius, and highly respected, in his knowledge and research. And he um, he talks about getting essential nutrients into your system, and he discovered that there has to be 90 essential nutrients, and I think there's even more now, where you have to get that inside your system daily. Um, and the key is to minimize deficiencies as much as possible. And he explains like why most people in the industrial world are deficient of vitamins and minerals, and he says a lot of times it's because of our diets. It's We're eating bad diets, and we're eating foods that don't have much nutrients in them, and they've been depleted because now they're processed and now they're GMO'd, you know, and and he says that even like now, it's like even when you eat organic foods, he talks about how even the soils are not that even good at times, where it's like the sources of soils is like they don't have the nutrients to even produce the vegetables that you need to eat, that should have all it the natural nutrients as as it's naturally made. So there's there's kind of like a lack of nutrients in the soils and the vegetables that you eat. So if you think you're just going to be a vegan and you're going to get all your nutrients and this and that, or you're doing this other diets and everything, oh, all I need is to eat vegetables. Wallach, through his research, has concluded that most of the foods out here are lacking a lot of nutrients, and it's due to the soils out here. And that's why he's well aware of certain soils. He gets he makes the supplements from particular soils, and I think there's some soil that he uses that's full of. It's one of the highest nutrient uh, containing soils in the world, and there's certain spots throughout the world that have soils that have a lot of nutrients in them. And he found that in Utah is one of them. So he uses, I think, Utah in their soils, certain soils there, because they have a lot of nutrients, more nutrients than other soils around the world. And he uses that to basically make his supplements. and he discovered that we need 90 essential nutrients in us with his experience with animals. So he's a veterinarian, right? And he said that veterinarians actually have more. They take care of animals better than what the medical industry does in taking care of humans. And so he says that I think animals don't have health insurance, right? And so the veterinarian industry has to definitely do their best to keep animals healthy, and because there's no health insurance in some sense. He jokes around about that, but so he found out. I think he was hired to conduct a study, and the study was there was something occurring with certain animals that were dying, certain population, and he was hired to go and find out, the cause of their ill, like why are they dying out, and how to get them back into how to prevent them from dying out, get them back to health. And he discovered a lot of times people, were saying, oh, this was causing, them to, this was the cause and this and that of, of the dying population. But he found out that he actually asked one of the guys, I guess, who was taking care of these animals, what are you feeding these animals? And he found out that what he was feeding these animals was it wasn't healthy, and it wasn't full of nutrients. And so I guess he came to this knowledge, like I guess he grew up in a farm or something, that if you feed the animals like food that are full of nutrients and everything, um, or even let them go out there and eat grass and everything, just healthy organic stuff and everything, that they become healthier. And he figured out, oh, it's because of the nutrients. So he had the guy change the food that he was feeding the animals into healthier, nutrient dense foods, and they started recovering from their health conditions, and they stopped dying. The rate of their death slowed down, and they went. And pretty soon, the population was restored. So he figured out, oh, this. He started using this approach with a lot of animals, and he found out that the animals, just like humans, needed essential nutrients, and especially 90 essential nutrients. And he started feeding these animals essential nutrients, and they would bring animals who were dying and full of illness or whatever, and he would restore their health by giving them essential nutrients and changing what they were eating. And this discovery, it was working. It was working for animals, and so he decided, wait a minute, it's like he started using this approach on humans as well. And next thing you know, it started working. It started working. So he started getting people on 90 essential nutrients, uh, promoting that you fix your diet, um, where you don't, because if you have an unhealthy diet and you take these essential nutrients, you're not going to absorb them well. And so the key is to have like good gut health, and restore your diet and prevent foods that are going to damage your gut. So when you have a healthier gut, you're going to be able to absorb these vitamins and minerals more efficiently, and become healthier. Um, so he stressed that too. It's not just taking supplements, but also getting your gut health right. Start eating better so you can absorb them. So Dr. Wallach he's a genius, man. Good thing you mentioned you asked that question. if you just came in, if you have any questions on health consciousness, let me know. But there's certain topics I can't talk about, because I'll get banned and censored here. But if you want to get deeper, go to my Rumble account and you'll learn a lot about that. Go click on that Rumble link and subscribe. I talk a lot about this whole health freedom movement and what we just talk about good stuff. And if you want, go down to my Twitter too. Click on my link on the Twitter and add me there. And a lot of us are just dropping knowledge there because it's less censorship. But right here on YouTube, I gotta be mainstream, right? I gotta be mainstream, and I can't say certain words, stuff like that. So, but it's okay to talk about health and wellness as long as you don't talk about certain topics, certain words. You know what I mean. If you're health conscious, you can talk about certain things. And I know this from experience because I got censored and banned on different platforms, especially Facebook, TikTok, and right here on YouTube. So I guess I'm working smarter in some way, and just go to the platforms where you don't get censored. And there's a lot of them. Let me tell you, go on bitchute.com, bitchute.com. Go to rumble.com, go to Odyssey, look up that up, go to Telegram, go to Twitter. Now there's, I think, Substack. There's a whole lot of new platforms out here that are, where you don't get censored and you get to speak your mind and drop knowledge. But right here, I'm just on this commercialized platform where, I think a lot of people out here are not aware of being health consciousness, being health conscious. It's just they can get a little taste and then get deeper and click on those links. So, but anyways, so the problem with the Chicano community is that we're not health conscious, and we go out eat all this fast food, or we go and eat at home, but we're choosing all this garbage from the markets, and so it's called big food. That's part of the problem there. So diet is one of the biggest factors on why people get sick and ill. Especially in the Western worlds, industrial worlds, and even amongst Chicanos and Mexicans out here. As cultural as we are, we're still not eating healthy. So and it's not just the American food. It's some of the Mexican food that we eat, the GMO processed food, and I've even studied anthropology as well. And there's actually a PhD, Chicana. She has some good insight, and she was talking about how our diets are colonized. You know, and it all even started with the Europeans and how they were introducing some of their foods and changed the diet. Say of the natives out here, and and I'm not gonna say all European foods are bad, because even foods in Europe, they actually some of them even come from Asia or Africa or the Middle East and stuff. So you have to be careful trying to label all foods from Europe as bad. But and even right now in Europe, there's certain parts of Europe that are actually eating organic, non-GMO foods, and there's some that are their populations are pretty healthy. So we have to be careful on labeling all of European culture or foodways as bad, and colonizing. But I will say that some of their foods that they introduced as they colonized the Americas was not healthy for us, and so that Chicana PhD anthropologist, she talks about decolonizing the diet, and she basically starts promoting the indigenous foods of the Americas, and And if you actually read a book called Indian Givers by Jack Weatherford, um, he talks about most of the foods in the globe come from the Americas, and it's a high percentage. I think it's like 70 or 80%, something like that. You'll be surprised, you know. But the issue is this: is that the Western world they modified genetically modified a lot of these organic foods around the world. They added ingredients. They made it synthetic. You know, a lot of synthetic foods out here, and even synthetic vitamins and all that stuff. You know, so it's important to get your source of nutrition from real food, whole food, organic, non-GMO food. Um, and it's definitely necessary to get supplementation, but do your best to get supplements that are straight from the source and not all synthetic. And but yeah, the whole decolonize the diet. There's some issues I have with the Chicano community when they talk about decolonize the diet, because a lot of them end up promoting veganism, and I am very critical of the whole vegan stuff because it's it's kind of like a white hipster new age trend, you know, and and I'm not saying veganism is all it's not good for some people, but the way I am is like, kind of like an anthropologist in some sense, where, or, you know, it's like when you study cultures around the world, most of them were not vegan, you know, and actually, rarely was it the case that they were even vegan. And cultures that exist for many thousands and thousands of years, people who have lived long lives were never vegan. So I'm just not into this hipster American vegan movement, this liberal vegan movement. So my thing is this: is that indigenous cultures, they had different types of diets and different at different times. You know, so we can't generalize and stereotype all diets as being such, a certain way. So for example, some natives say in Alaska they had more of a pescatarian type diet. Then you go down, travel down to the United States, and like the Southwest and everything, and they adapted to certain, say, desert climates, and they ate certain things like cactus and you know, and they ate plants too, but they also ate proteins in the form of animals, at times. So in Mexico, we had that as well. We weren't vegan, you know, there's known facts that Mexicans even ate mammoth. They say that's one of the reasons why the mammoth went extinct, is because humans were killing and eating a lot of them. But there was other reasons why too, why the mammoth went extinct. Um, but then we have the elephants who are descendants of the mammoths as well. Um, but even in our Mexican culture, like uh, prior to colonization, we weren't vegan. So I don't know where this whole Chicana. I see a lot of these Chicanas, and even the PhD anthropologist Chicana was over here trying to promote veganism, or even trying to say decolonize veganism, as though natives were vegans, and I don't agree with that. So my thing is that I guess she makes the case that um, natives ate seasonally, so they were vegan at a certain time, like certain season, and then other times they ate other stuff. But I think the problem is when you make it a lifestyle, you make it permanent, then that's part of the problem. Is like it veganism is, in my point of view, not really healthy. Um, and and I found out veganism actually comes from the Bible. As you guys know, I'm a decolonial Chicano, Christian. But I will say that veganism from the Bible, it comes from like the Daniel diet, and a lot of Christians and Seventh Day Adventists made it a trend to be vegan as a lifestyle. And my thing is this: is that and you got people who were influenced like that, like Dr. Sebi, who was popular in the Black Conscious movement, and he was influenced by the whole Seventh Day veganism type stuff as well. Um, but here's the thing: is the Daniel diet. Let's take it to proper context. Um, when you read the Bible, Daniel, he only went on that diet for a little while, and it was like once a year, and it was a way to cleanse in some sense. So it wasn't to be made a lifestyle, like because the scripture does say that he did eat protein, like kind of like kosher, like as the Jewish approach to eating, and they do eat certain proteins, and even after the diet, he went back to eating certain proteins, found in certain animals. So Daniel was not, he wasn't vegan all the time. It was just like it's just a form of a way to kind of like detox and everything. Um, so I think that a lot of the hipsters and Seventh Day Adventists and Christians and all that came out and made it popular, and all the New Age liberals and all that started making veganism as a lifestyle. So I'm very critical of the whole veganism stuff. And on indigenous people, we may have eaten vegetables seasonally, but there's also a problem with that. Sometimes I was listening to the whole Eskimo diet, and it's more like a ketogenic diet, and they eat healthy, good fats, and they even in the winter, like they during the summer and all that, they would save their vegetables and some fruits, and then they would save that for the winter, and they would also have access to fish and stuff like that, and uh, sea animals at times, and they were one of the healthiest, cultures around. And there's even anthropological study on the Eskimos as well, and there was even an anthropologist who discovered, went and lived amongst the natives in Alaska, and came back and wrote about it, and he became healthy as well. He wasn't that healthy prior to that. He was eating the Western diets and all that, but then he learned from the natives to like their way of eating, and became healthier. And and so um, and so I'm thinking like natives, and it depends on the region. Some people they were near the ocean. They're pescatarians. Um, some were kind of like ketogenic. Um, Even like a lot of times, people promote corn as part of the culture and this and that, but you know, corn at times, the way the modern corn is being used, it's all GMO'd, and it's not in its organic, natural state. So, as much as we want to be all cultured out and everything, we're eating all this, corn as GMO and it's unhealthy, and even a lot of times, like, as Mexicans like to promote the corn as like essential in our diets, but it depends on how far back you take it, because that was, you know, the corn was, like, as anthropologists would say, is kind of like the agricultural stage, the farming stage, right? But prior to that, the whole hunter-gatherer stage, where natives were, migrating, and prior to the discovery of maize, they were eating, like, they were hunting, they were hunting deer, um, you know, buffalo, bison, turkey, fish, even snakes. I actually had those uh, family friend, um, Mexican, and he would go and hunt rattlesnakes in the desert, and he would kill them and eat them, and he said, "Well, it tastes like chicken." uh, so native culture still exists in our Mexican Chicano culture out here, and we also eat rabbits too at times, and deer and stuff like that. So we didn't eat just vegetables, but here's the problem though. We got this modern Western diet that's eating nothing but processed GMO protein and meats, and that's the majority of the diet, and they're not eating that much vegetables. That's also not good as well. So it's important to get our vegetables in there, but also get some protein as well, and get those healthy, good fats and everything. I've also learned from a guy named Dr. Gundry from the Plant Paradox, and he um, he says that another issue is the lectins. Lectins is like a protein that destroys your gut, and it causes, like, what's it called, leaky gut in some sense. And these lectins are contained in what's called nightshade vegetables, like tomatoes, um, in corn, and a lot of different foods. If you actually Google it and look up Dr. Gundry's uh, to eat list and everything, he has a list of it, a lot of things. But I found out that a lot of these lectins, people think gluten is bad, but gluten is a type of lectin, but it's the least of the worst lectins. So you even have even worse lectins, but gluten, lectins, and all, they all damage the gut. And when you have a damaged gut, and you have a barrier in your gut, it's kind of like you have your bloodstream, right? And then you have your, like, where the food goes in, and then you have like a lining, like a barrier. And what happens is when you eat those lectins in those foods, it creates holes in that barrier. And so when you're eating all this junk food and everything, and you have holes, it's going straight into your bloodstream. And then you're eating all these toxic ingredients and everything going straight into your bloodstream. And this is where Dr. Gundry says that all these toxicities and all this stuff from the foods are going into your bloodstream and then traveling to your tissue, your organs, and all that. And this is where he says there a lot of issues occur, where your organs and tissues are damaged by these toxicities, and so he says the key is to get rid of these lectins from your diet, and do away with them as much as possible, and And so a lot of us Mexicans, we eat a lot of foods that are native, right? That are full of lectins. For example, the beans. We eat beans that are full of lectins, and that's why when you eat beans, like people end up having to go to the bathroom right away, right? It's because these lectins are in these beans and they're damaging your gut, and it's not good to have these lectins um, in your foods. But there's a solution. What I discovered, even a lot of us Mexicans, we lost these native traditions. We're so modernized, and there's a tradition where we made food. We had a whole tradition of making food. So, for example, beans. We soaked them, we boiled them, we let them. There was a whole process of cooking them, right? And the discoveries. This is how they got the lectins to. They reduced the lectins or even got rid of them in the beans. And so we had to relearn those native ways. And some of us Mexicans do still keep that in our tradition. So, but a lot of modernized Mexicans and Chicanos, we don't, we lose those native traditions at times, and this is why we become unhealthy. So the native cultures are even health conscious back, as well. So they discovered that they had to know that lectins were doing damage to people, and this is why they had the process of soaking and boiling and different processes to getting rid or even decreasing the amount of lectins. And another discovery I found out is even with the tomatoes, like um, when the colonizers came, and then like say the tomatoes were being um, traded and eventually ended up in Italy. And Italians are known for what? Pizza and their spaghetti and tomato sauce, right? And prior to that, we had the tomatoes. So they actually, it's not even truly Italian, right? So, but at the initial, when they first came across the tomato, they were against the tomato because it was damaging them. It was messing them up, right? And but then they discover, oh, wait a minute, we can and we can get rid of. They found out that you get rid of the seeds in the tomato and the skin, and that's just why they de-seed and take the skin off now. And now, their whole industry of tomato sauce, it exploded, right? Now they're making all this spaghetti and pizza and everything. But natives were doing that already, and I think that's probably where the Italians learned it from the natives here, where they would peel the skin of the tomato and get rid of the seeds. And a tomato is kind of like a nightshade vegetable. So there was a process that natives discovered, and to make the foods healthier. So we need to do that. I like Dr. Gundry because he says, okay, if you still want to eat your nightshades or your beans, um, you don't have to. I mean, if you have like gut issues and everything, definitely stay away from them. But if you're okay, you don't really have those kind of issues, you could still eat these nightshades and beans, but a good way, there's a, if you don't, want to do the whole soaking and boiling, the whole process, which takes time, we could use kind of like a modern approach and use what's called an instant pot. And an instant pot is like you throw the beans in there or the tomatoes or nightshades, and as you cook them in the instant pot, the the lectins are actually, you get rid of them, and they're safer to eat. So there is a solution to this to make Mexican food healthier, you know. So That's interesting diet, the plant paradox by Dr. Gundry. I've learned a lot from him as well, and there's so many other people I've learned a lot from. I'm always researching and studying this stuff. Um, on the whole decolonial diets, that one PhD anthropologist Chicana, I will agree with her that natives did eat seasonally, and even Dr. Gundry talks about that. The problem with the Western diet is that we we're always eating like because we have access to markets, right? And so the access to market food is like it it kind of disrupts those natural seasonal patterns that humans have been used to. So prior to the whole industrial market industry, um, humans would eat like foods like seasonally, like there were certain times where certain foods were in season and certain foods were out of season, and so this was kind of like our biology was, in tune with nature in some sense, and that we would eat accordingly. But the whole market industry kind of disrupted, and now we have access to certain vegetables all the time. We have access to certain proteins and meats, all the time. We have access to certain fruits all the time. And so this disrupts our natural biological rhythm, and and this explains why more people are having sugar issues, high sugars, and they're eating too much of certain foods, and this actually disrupts our natural biological systems out here that we've been used to for thousands of years. So we're not eating seasonally a lot of times out here because we have access to these foods now, and the reason why some of these foods are always available is because they GMO them, and so they don't go bad or stuff like that, and they're full of these toxic ingredients. It's fake food lacking nutrients, and this is why we become unhealthy. So there's some interesting insight that these people have you know have provided. So so definitely it's important to for Mexicans and Chicanos to start getting your diet right, start supplementing essential vitamins and minerals, and that's that's one of the biggest factors there. You know, and then it comes to the whole wellness, the whole mental and all that. Um, you know, getting your mind right. There's even a mind body connection, and a lot of times we're so full of negativity in our mindsets and everything, negative thoughts. It affects your health, right? And that's why you got to do what's called mind management in some sense. And every time a negative thought comes into you, you just got to get rid of it and replace it with a positive thought. And as a Christian, I learned that like renewing your mind, right? Having the mind of Christ, and because the devil he messes with your mind, right? So learning how to replace those thoughts or repel those thoughts, or just focusing on good things, positive things, focusing on God, different things like that. And your mental health is very important. Um, Also, your emotional health is very important as well. So a lot of times people go through tragedies or situations that damages their emotional health. So it's like they gotta learn, kind of like how to become stronger in some sense. Certain things may make or break you. You gotta learn how to be a strong person, overcome certain, emotional trauma, um, and definitely protect yourself when it comes to emotions, but also learn how to heal as well. Because everyone goes through emotional problems, emotional tragedies, or whatever, and learn how to heal. And there's many ways. I mean, there's therapies out there. There's friends that you can talk it out with, family members. You could tap into spirituality, like God, and ask God to heal you and be in God's presence for healing. Prayer. Uh, there's different ways to emotionally heal. So you got the mind, the emotions, um, you got the physical aspects. All those can either make you healthy or make you sick, depending whether it's negative or positive. Um, and then also your environment. Be careful of your environment. Like sometimes there's certain toxicities in the environment you have to be aware of. And you know, um, I know in like in poor communities, there's more like industrial factories and more pollution. There's a lot of chemicals in certain places and everything, certain surroundings. So just be aware of your environment. Look around, and you know, even when you're over there sanitizing everything, there's even chemicals in that stuff too. So be aware of that. Just be conscious of the toxicities and chemicals around you. And try to minimize them as much as possible. Um, and also your social relations. Be careful. There may be toxic people that can ruin your house as well. And if you're around negative people who are full of drama, causing all kinds of mental, emotional issues, they can affect your health as well. So just be careful who you're actually, you know, what kind of relations you have with people out here. And yeah, and sometimes accidents occur, like people get in car accidents and they uh, they have some kind of physical trauma, or they fall and stuff like that, and they gotta learn how to heal in that way too. I mean, sometimes going to a chiropractor is a good thing, or a therapist, physical therapist and everything. Um, Learning how to stretch, doing a lot of stretching, slow exercise, to recover, different things like that, you know. And also, uh, things to heal too is like, we think of all these natural things, but then there's even supernatural healing where you tap into God and His presence, and God can heal you as well. Miracles do happen, and there's research to back it up too. And there's even medical doctors that write off certain things that they can't explain and say, "Oh, this is a miracle." Like, so there's tons of research on that. So there's just definitely ways to prevent illness and to heal from illness. You just gotta, acquire that wisdom. But definitely, us Chicanos and Chicanas need to get on this health consciousness and start working on it. And I want to go a little bit into the whole traditional medicine stuff. So Mexicans do have a tradition of embrace. They have for thousands of years they've developed traditional approaches to health and wellness, and it's in the native culture. And we have, for example, the sweat lodge. Sweat lodge is a way to heal emotionally, to let out your emotions, like your hurts, any negative stuff that you accumulated. It also helps with detoxification too. You detox your body full of all these toxicities. And the way I am is like, okay, you can even pray to God in a sweat lodge too. So that's, we have in Mexican culture, it's called temazcal. It's like the sweat lodge of the natives out here. So there's ways like that to heal. Um, Native culture has, or, you have these chiropractors, right? Modern chiropractors, but it actually comes from practitioners. I think they're called setters, and they um, they have Mexicans that are kind of like chiropractors, and they they um, they basically you know they have a tradition where they kind of like move your body in certain ways, kind of like a chiropractor, and align your spine and your bones and different things. And you'll be surprised, the whole field of chiropractic even comes from native traditions throughout the world. There was bone setters, in Asia and Middle East and Africa and Mexican culture, native cultures out here. And this is where the modern practice of chiropractic comes from. And this whole chiropractic stuff is pretty good. Even just stretching, stretching, bone setting, it relieves so much stress and tension. I like to do a lot of stretching at times. Sometimes I'm over here exercising, doing pull-ups and stuff like that, and sometimes I get like um, my muscles in the back on my back is like, or my wing, sometimes I feel like discomfort and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I need to stretch. So what I do is I just stretch and hang. I do different like type of stretches, and I even have this little thing. It's a modern thing that it's like a back roller. You just roll on it, and it just like relaxes your muscles and all that. And so when you have like soreness or you feel some kind of discomfort in your wing, um, there's ways to use those type of approaches to heal yourself, or even to de-stress. When I roll on that back roller, I'm like, man, this is it de-stresses me, you know. So we have different practices in Mexican traditional medicine, that involves that kind of stuff, stretching, bone setting, even the whole clay stuff. I've gotten into the whole clay type stuff, um, where they use clays and they put certain herbs and things in there, natural, um, you know, ingredients, and they put it on your skin, right? They put it on your stomach or any part of your body, and what is and this clay actually it sucks out all the toxicities out of your body. And I personally have firsthand experience with that. I never knew about this. I'm like, wow, this is powerful stuff to detox. Um, I actually had a boil on my back, and so they tell you, oh, you got to go get surgery and get rid of that boil and stuff like that. But I researched and looked into somebody who said you could put some clay on there, and you just add like a herb or something like that, or silver, and you mix it with the clay and you put it on that boil, and then it's like and eventually it goes away. So I tried it, and at first I'm like, oh, this is not going away. But then I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing it. I keep doing it. So I kept doing it, and it took about like a month, and I was doing it every day. And I didn't have to go get surgery, because surgery causes like scars on you, permanent scars. And then so I went and put this clay on me, and I put some silver in it, colloidal silver, and over time the boil started. It, it was actually inside my skin, right? And I can't. You feel it. You could feel it, right? And then eventually the clay started pushing the boil out, so the boil started coming out more and more, and then Then the boil eventually started separating into little bubbles. And I found out that some of the bubbles were breaking. And then I kept doing it, right? Putting that clay with silver. And then eventually all the everything started diminishing, and it was gone. And I don't have that boil. It never came back. So I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So this stuff actually works, you know. So yeah, I think it's called bentonite clay. Um, so yeah, and we have these natural Mexican you know stores out here in our communities. We sell these. There's products like that you can buy, but it's using the traditional medicine as an approach, and that's just one example there. And then even amongst the Mexican traditional practitioners, they also embrace other traditional medicines around the world, not only native and Mexican, but also Chinese medicine and medicine from India, like Ayurveda. And there's some insight that, that these systems actually offer that are natural and not as invasive, as in Western medicine. And it's pretty good stuff, and they talk about energies of the body and stuff like that. So having good balance, and I'm into this whole energy stuff too. It's yeah, I kind of equate it as spirituality in some sense, but then there's also there's energy that all of reality is made of, and this is just science, right? It's not new age, it's more actually science. Humans are energy as well too. All of matter is energy in some sense. um, and so it's important, and there's negative and positive energy as well. And so it's important to definitely make sure that you're not full of negative energy. That's why some people feel negative vibes with certain atmospheres. You know, they go into like a certain house, or they come across a certain person, they feel some kind of negative energy, or even like they think of a certain negative thought, and all of a sudden, oh, they're all affected, right? Or they experience something tragic. It's like a negative energy, right? So you got to learn how to change that, and even as the Bible says, overcome evil with good. Even with even a Christian perspective, everybody thinks this whole energy stuff is just New Age. No, it's scientific, right? It's not necessarily New Age, but even in Christianity, it could, there was a theologian I was reading about on energies, and he says, yeah, energies, it's a fact, and it's like, and there's different types of energies, and he basically says God is the source of all energy. He's the ultimate, and but there is energy in reality, and there's also good energy and bad energy. You have to be careful what you tap into. Sometimes these new agers, they're too open to everything out here, or sometimes people who get into native traditions, right, and they start embracing anything spiritual out there, and they get they tap into some negative entities that are negative energy. There's actually a guy named I think it's Jerry Marzinski. He's a therapist. He interviews different people out here, and he says that when the psychology field out here, they tend to dismiss people who have, say, mental problems like schizophrenia and bipolarism. They dismiss like a lot of their experiences and the voices they hear, and they just call it, oh, that's just an illusion or something like that. Um, and and he says no. It's like what he's discovered with his clients is that these these illusions are not by definition they're not repeatable. And he's saying when he does research and from his experience and observation, he concluded that these things that they're experiencing, these voices are repeatable, and they're actually what he calls energy vampires. As in the Christian world, they call them demons, right, or evil spirits. And he found out that people with mental problems have low energy, and he's saying that every time that these people hear these voices and they're experiencing this kind of mental issues, they're low in vitality, low in energy. And then when they get rid, he goes through kind of like helping them get rid of these voices. um, he notices that their vitality starts coming back and their energy starts coming back. So he's concluded that these entities are energy vampires. So sickness and illness can occur from negative energies, negative spirit entities, demons, as they say. And even if you like read the Bible, you get some insight on that too. So the problem is the Western world, they ever since they got into the so-called Enlightenment, they dismiss all of spirituality. They dismiss metaphysics and all that. Yeah. So the Enlightenment, high cut, made the whole Western world dismiss spirituality and metaphysics. If you just came in, feel free to ask me a question on this whole topic of uh, health consciousness, and I'll be willing to answer them as I go on. But I'm talking about right now this whole negative energy stuff. Even the Bible gives insight, but the Enlightenment, the modern Western world has dismissed spirituality and metaphysics, and when I'm talking about metaphysics, it's more like a philosophical approach, not a New Age approach. As you guys know, I studied philosophy and I have a degree in it, and the field of philosophy just basically means uh, the field of metaphysics just means meta means beyond, and then physics, physica, beyond the physical. So Aristotle wrote about his physics, right, about the natural world. Then he wrote some other stuff about like the soul and the emotions and different things like that. And they basically say that okay, we're gonna call this metaphysica, metaphysics. So that's where the whole word comes from. But metaphysics just means like I guess the kind of like it's like a field of study of things that are beyond our the scientific method, beyond the physical world, and in a sense, the scientific method is limited, right? And I'm not into scientism where it's like a worship of science, right? But science is a tool to understand the natural world, but it has its limitations. But the Enlightenment, the problem with them is they made the Western world dismiss all of spirituality and metaphysics. And so, um, you know, native traditions, even ancient times, they were well aware of the spiritual world and metaphysics. And so, when it comes to health and sickness and illness, a lot of ancients believe that one of the causes was evil spirits or negative, in the modern world, we call it negative energies, right? Negative entities. And, um, and so even the Bible talks about that you know, when Jesus came across someone that was sick, right? He casted the evil spirit out of them, and then they were healed, right? And there was, what's called a spirit of infirmity, right? So that's, and I've seen people who were, who were prayed over, and they were sick, right? And all of a sudden they start manifesting like they were possessed and everything, and the demon was cast out of them. Next thing you know, they recover from their mental illness. I know a woman who was they told her that, oh, you need to be on meds for the rest of your life, and they prayed over her, and they cast that demon out of her, and she recovered, and she's no longer on meds, and she's doing perfectly fine. So there is a spiritual realm that can affect your health as well. So just be aware of that. So if you just came in, I'm just talking about health consciousness and different ways of what causes illness and sickness. As you guys know, I'm a terrain theorist. I'm not a germ theorist. So a germ theorist believes that one single thing causes sickness and illness. A terrain theorist believes that there's multiple factors in why people become sick and ill. And I'm kind of going to the holistic solutions to, how to heal yourself or even reverse illness and everything. So I just went over the natural aspects, your diet, supplementation, the mind, the emotions, even spirituality. And also, I forgot even physical exercise. That's important too. So I like Dr. Wallach's perspective on, he says that, you can exercise all you want, but if you don't have these essential nutrients like vitamins and minerals to replenish yourself, because when you work out, you sweat a lot of these minerals and vitamins out of your pores. So you got to take more vitamins and minerals, after you work out. So that's important. But it's also important too to get moving. Don't overexhaust yourself when you're burning your adrenals and all that. But definitely get some exercise. Let your body recover. Get some rest. Um, and there's many types of exercises. I just mentioned earlier, you can start stretching. I do stretches and everything. I do calisthenics. Calisthenics is really good. You don't have to pay for a gym membership. You can save money, and you could do calisthenics anywhere in your house, in the park. Start doing some push-ups. Um, go find a pull-up bar, or even go buy one, a pull-up bar at a store somewhere. At a Big Five Sporting Goods or somewhere. It's really cheap, and just put it in your house and start working on those pull-ups. Um, I even bought like a power tower where you could do pull-ups and dips and everything. And calisthenics, I just love calisthenics. You just do body exercises, burpees, push-ups, um, even like what they call mountain climbers and everything, and sit-ups and just different exercises. And even just going outside and taking a jog or walking, or finding some kind of physical activity that you like, something that involves body movement. Like me, I like to dance. Dancing is cool. It can definitely help your cardio. It's really good stuff. Um, you know, even weight training at times. I do with resistant bands because it's really good. I just do different types of resistant band exercises. um, there's so many different types of exercises you can do out there. And if you could afford a gym, yeah, go ahead and do it. That's good too. Um, definitely get your exercise on, but also get your rest, and even do some also martial arts. I've been doing martial arts throughout my life and everything. Get some of that, Muay Thai, kickboxing, Jeet Kune Do, um, grappling. I remember I was like, man, grappling when I first started it, man, you first start and it's like you it's a whole different type of exercise and cardio. And at first you get winded and you get exhausted. And there was even times where I grappled like right away and like I had to step outside and get some air because I felt like I was gonna pass out. But grappling, you just got you know you eventually get used to it little by little. It takes practice. You got transition into it. Eventually, you get used to that. It's a whole different type of cardio, and so even different exercises. You may be good at running, right? But then you start doing weights, and you're all tired and everything. Or if you're good at weights and you start running, or you're tired. So different exercises require like getting used to it. Um, so definitely, yeah, martial arts is good. There's even different ways to get your exercise on. But yeah, it's important to have a holistic approach to health and wellness. And there's many ways to prevent illness and to reverse it as well. And you got to take a holistic approach to it. So let's see. Let me see. I'll see if there's any comments or any questions here. Um, let's see here. So, how's it going? So, let's see. So, yeah, yes, yes. The comment about voices. Yeah, it's real, man. People do hear voices, and there's even evidence of people who go out and commit crimes. They hear voices and they listen to those voices, and they don't know how to like um, not listen to those voices. They just go ahead and follow what these voices say. There's actually a therapist who goes into all that stuff. His name is Jerry Marzinski. Look him up on YouTube, man. This guy gives a lot of insight on that whole voice phenomenon. And yeah, you mentioned the whole MK stuff. Yeah, I can't go too much into that because YouTube censors and stuff like that. But yeah, if you go to my Rumble link, and I go deep into that kind of stuff, man. So go and subscribe to my Rumble link. Also go on my Twitter too. We're exposing a lot of stuff like that. So I can't really talk about that topic right here on YouTube. I got strikes and got censored before, so I have to be careful what I say on here. Um, let's see. Let's see more comments. So you're seeing, yeah. So I guess this he somebody said that you're not. Oh, okay. Something about the nerves and aging and sickness. Yeah, the whole nerve stuff, man. Is the whole nerve issue. It even connects with the mind and everything. So there's a mind body connection and the whole nerves, as well, and even stress and everything. Stress can get you sick as well. Um, let's see. Um, it's running. Let's see. Yeah, running, jogging, and walking at least 30 minutes a day. Definitely, man. That's definitely important. Going out there and getting some sun too, getting some vitamin D. You know, going out there and sometimes I go hiking. Sometimes and I just go and being around the plants and everything. They give out certain chemicals and everything being out in the sun, getting some oxygen, even walking up the hill, all that's good, man. Just enjoying um, the environment, the creation that God has given us, um, we're connected, right? As natives believe that, we're, all related in some sense, interconnected, and there's health benefits too. We think of all the toxicities in the environment, but also the environment can, have certain natural chemicals that can be beneficial for us, And so definitely getting out and getting some sun and exposure, it's a good thing. While you exercise or hike or whatever. Um, yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Yeah, definitely, man. I'm heavy on that whole B12. You say you take vitamin B12, thiamine, calcium. Yeah, man, supplementation is very important. I just went over that earlier about the 90 essential nutrients. Dr. Wallach talks a lot about that stuff, man. Good stuff. But yeah, B12 is very decent, man. It does so much for you. um, I've actually done a lot of studying in that whole B12 stuff, and it helps with your with your cells and your neurological system, your brain. A lot of people have B12 deficiencies out here, and they end up becoming fatigued, uh, tired, and sleepy all the time, lack of energy. So B12 is very essential. All the B vitamins, get those vitamins and minerals. Look up Dr. Wallach and the 90 essential nutrients. Very good insight on that whole thing. So supplementation is very important, and it improves your cognition too. Um, sometimes like our cognition is like, even as you get older, like you're like, it's not as sharp as it should be. You're not attentive and sharp as. So a lot of times it's due to deficiencies, and especially the B12 and all that. People get neuropathy if they have B12 deficiency. They get dizziness spells, and their mobility is not that great. So yeah, that's important as well. So yeah, definitely. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. It was nice being on here and just sharing some knowledge on, health consciousness. Um, dig deeper, go do your research, buy some cool books. Look up some YouTube videos. Learn the traditional ways, natural, organic, traditional medicines, and there's so much to this whole health and wellness approach, how to heal. Um, I know a lot of Mexicans go into the whole, how to, about healers and stuff like that. But then sometimes I see some of these healers, man, like in the Mexican culture, like I'm not dogging anybody, but it's like some of them are obese. And I'm like, wow, you can't be a healer if you're going to be obese like that. Like, you definitely, you can know all these traditional medicines, herbs. Oh, another thing is herbs is cool. Like, learn about herbs, natural herbs, and all that. But be careful how to use them. There's natives, they were well schooled in herbs and herbology, and even making your own foods and organic foods and all that. That's important. I forgot about that too. um, learn, if you have a house or even like an apartment, or, or have access to a community garden, learn to grow organic, non GMO foods, healthy foods. And so you can have access to that. Even having access to, let's say, farmers market and stuff like that. But back to the whole traditional people, sometimes I see they're obese, it's like, okay, they're all cultural out and eating their Mexican food, but they're eating processed food and GMO food and full of sugars and all this stuff. So diet is very important. So it's not important just to be no healing practices like bone setting and sweat lodge and temazcal and different things, but don't neglect the diet aspect too, and because that's one of the biggest factors right there is your diet. um, but yeah, it's just I think a lot of healers out here, they also need healing as well. So it's all about wisdom, and I'm not saying everyone's perfect. Some of us, we get too comfortable and we go back to our old bad habits and everything. So we kind of have to check ourselves and say, oh, you know what? I need to kick this habit. I need to stop this, stop eating this type of food and sugars or whatever, and um, start working on a healthy lifestyle, you know. But definitely, oh man, you're just dropping knowledge, man. Yeah, that bacopa is really good, man. I take that as well. Good for the brain, cognition. um, let's see, opiates. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of reasons why the modern people these days, even if they embrace traditional medicine and become so-called healers, they end up becoming obese and all that. It's their unhealthy lifestyle, man. There's a lot of causes on that. So we kind of sometimes have to self-reflect too, and make sure what we know we also apply it to ourselves too. And sometimes I have to check myself too, man, because sometimes I'm like, oh shoot, I end up eating something that tastes delicious and everything, but it's not really good. So you have to always discipline and put yourself in check too. um, so yeah, so yeah, yeah, man. So you mentioned something about inflammation. I was just going over that yesterday, just looking into more how inflammation is another issue. A lot of us, especially when we have those, you know, the inflammation, and especially with the pot bellies and everything, um, it's because of a lot of times it's the diets and everything, and it's our body, reacting to that as well too. So inflammation is very important. We gotta get rid of that, and yeah, diet is one of the main causes. But anyways, I think I'm gonna head on out, um, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, um, and click on the links below if you want to get deeper. Go to my Rumble account, watch all those uploads. Man, it's just dropping knowledge. Go to my Twitter account. Just read a lot of the reposts and everything. Sometimes I tweet on there as well. Or go to my Instagram below, and I have a lot of good stuff on there too. Sometimes when I'm mobile and I'm on the go, I just throw on my Instagram live, because on YouTube you got to be behind your computer, but with Instagram you just have your phone and stuff. So definitely go down there and check it out. Um, and I'll be creating more videos in the future on different topics. It's all about consciousness here. I gotta be careful though with the censorship out here on YouTube. Just gotta keep it commercial in some sense, because you'll get banned and everything. So, but yeah, well, I'll be covering different topics, and feel free to join and let others know about this channel, and even share it if possible. Um, so yeah, definitely, and it was nice talking to you all in my chat room. uh,
yeah, feel free to come on by and ask, some questions, or make sure, and make some comments too, and as long as you keep it respectful and civil, you know, it'll be cool, But I do have my chat rules too in the bottom. So I actually had some guy one time come into my chat room and he was just talking a lot of nonsense. Didn't make no sense, so I had to like ban him. So just be aware of that. Just keep it, civil and respectful, and if possible, as positive as much, as positive as possible. But anyways, you guys have a good day, and uh, go work on that health consciousness. Anyways, this is the Conscious Chicano, and I'm out.